Welcome to the On Par podcast. We want to thank our sponsors, the Chiera Family Foundation and Winners Award Group. And I've got a very special guest with me, radio personality for 30 plus years now.
41 now.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shortchange
41.
you. This is,
oh my God, am I old?
This is DOC Reno. He's been on Big 105.9 for 20 plus of that.
Going on 23 years.
23.
Longest running afternoon show
in
Miami.
When we first met, we're going to talk about your charity and your tournament.
We talk about whatever you want.
But when we met, I asked you first if you played golf, and you were like, "Well, Casey, our buddy Casey Burt, introduced us, because he told you that I could do everything about planning a golf tournament."
That's true. He did.
Which 4 years ago couldn't have been further from the truth. And I was very upfront with you about that. In the 2 sentences that I talked while you told me, you talked for the rest of the time.
I think you did an awesome job.
So, we brought in a tournament planner. We brought in, you already had a board together.
Yeah.
So it
a
was
bunch of radio people didn't know what they were doing, but
you needed a couple people that knew golf, and then you needed somebody that knew a golf tournament.
Yeah, we were more concert people, festival people.
But I said, look, I do the 100-hole challenge, and I got a big mouth, and I could tell you that I can probably recruit some golfers, but I don't know what else I could help with. And it turned out
that was good enough.
We wound up, bringing in an auction guy that got a bunch of stuff donated. Yeah. And, here we are now, 4th year.
Yeah, 4th year.
So it's coming up in actually, by the time this airs, in about a week and a half.
Yeah, March 29th.
March 29th. It's a Saturday.
Plantation Preserve, 8 a.m. shotgun.
So get up early on a Saturday, go play golf. That's normally what we would do as golf addicts anyway.
Yeah.
But now we can support the My Family Matters Foundation. So before we talk about the golf side of things, let's talk about why you actually started this foundation. Because I think that's one of the stories that got me from the very beginning. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can help this guy to the level that he needs, but I want to help Doc because he seems like a good guy.
I appreciate that. So in 2018, I found out that I had stage 4 head and neck cancer from GERD, from acid reflux. I had been dealing with acid reflux like most people since I was a kid. Like literally as a 13-year-old, I couldn't eat chocolate because I'd be up all night with acid reflux and miss school the next day because I didn't get any sleep. And so I'd been dealing with it for a long time, and my oncologist, Dr. Freya, said to me eventually that after time, just dealing with heartburn over and over and over again, eventually, things can catch up to you, and it caught up to me. They found a tumor underneath my tongue. You couldn't see it with the naked eye. My dentist was upset because he had just cleaned my teeth and didn't see anything. And then it traveled to the side of my left side of my neck, and I had a second stage 4 tumor. So when I went through the treatment during that time, I met a lot of parents. When you're sitting in a chair and you're getting chemotherapy and you're just watching that stuff drip in your veins, it's pretty grounding. You realize you're not invincible. But when I would sit next to a child getting chemotherapy, that's when I really realized that, I'm going to beat this. And I pray to God that child does too. And you strike up conversations with parents, and you find out that a lot of them, one or the other parent usually becomes the point person for a child dealing with cancer. They're the ones that go from full-time to part-time. They're the ones, unfortunately, in some cases, who get fired for missing too much time at work. They're the ones who financially end up taking a setback. But the landlord still wants the money. The car payment people, they still want to get paid for that lease or that car. Yeah. FP&L still wants their money. Verizon still wants their money. So the more conversations I had, Drew, with just parents, I kept coming home and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, wow, this is really a problem. This is bad. I didn't realize how bad it was. And I go, we donate tons of money to research, and rightfully so. But who's helping these parents with sick kids just get by with their everyday bills? and I started researching it online, and I realized there's organizations out there, but not many. And this is a really big problem. So my wife said to me, she felt like God did it to me for a reason, that I was in a position with my line of work, being a local, and I'm nationally syndicated with iHeartRadio across the country, being a radio host, that, a lot of nonprofits don't have a 100,000-watt FM microphone 5 days a week like I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a position to make a difference. So I created My Family Matters Foundation, because when I went through cancer, and our logo, if you see my hat here, you'll see that it's in different colors. Because I realized in my family, we really didn't have any cancer in my family. Very unknowledgeable about cancer. And I was usually considered the healthy one in my family. I was the last guy anybody in my family thought would get cancer, but I was the one that got it. And when I learned through my process, I learned about other people. Cancer does not discriminate. Cancer couldn't care less who your favorite football team is, or who you voted for city councilman, or whether you like vanilla or chocolate ice cream. I mean,
race, gender, age,
it doesn't matter.
None of that is important at all.
So the symbol of the hat is that, all different people from different backgrounds, doesn't care how much money you make or how educated you are. Cancer picks you, you're it. And cancer picked me. So when I started pitching around names, and our friend Lori Myers and I started coming up with ideas, I hired an attorney. I hired an accounting firm who's now one of our board members. And basically, I said, I'm going to do this. I'm super busy. Like, I need something else on my plate. But I'm going to create this foundation. And 2019 was kind of a growing year. We officially became a nonprofit on December 10th, 2018, right after I beat cancer.
Okay.
And 2019 was a growing year, hiring somebody to do a website, just the logistics stuff, filing the proper paperwork with the IRS, things like that. And then 2020 hit and COVID hit.
No events.
So then no events. And I basically, as I would tell people in my inner circle, I would say, I didn't start this foundation, shut it down. So I started taking my own personal money and paying for things. And full disclosure, what I would do is, if I needed to pay a web person $1,500, I'd go online and I would donate like $1,800 or $2,000 of my own money.
Mm-hmm.
And then that web person, I would cut them a check from My Family Matters Foundation.
Right.
Because I was all about legitimacy.
You were the first donor to MFM.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so when to take a step back real quick, so when I was coming up with this idea, I told a friend of mine at Joe DiMaggio my idea of what I wanted to do. And Kim said to me, can I call you back in 15 minutes? And she calls me back, and she has me on speaker in a conference room, and basically asked me to partner with them, which was a complete honor. Also, right off the bat, gave us complete legitimacy,
mm-hmm.
because they're not just asking any nonprofit to partner with them. But I told them on one condition: when My Family Matters donates to Joe D to help parents who have a child getting treatment there,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to pay for the parking lot across the street so you guys can build a parking garage.
Okay.
I want the money to go to a special fund
mm-hmm.
that pays these parents bills so they can focus on their child with cancer. And they gave me their word
mm-hmm.
that that's where the money would go. And here we are now in 2025, and we survived a pandemic. And now we're starting to do events.
Mm-hmm.
And how you and I met was through the Broadcasters Golf Tournament.
Yep.
And a lot of people, and it's my fault for coming up with the name, but a lot of people think it's just a golf tournament for radio guys. And it's like, no, radio guys will be at the tournament, but it's open to anybody.
And rock stars have been at these in the past 3 years.
Some are coming this again. Some will be there on the 29th.
I met some really cool people that had thick British accents. And, you know, it was, and I mean, I'm not just saying this because I was involved the first 2 years, took last year off for some career changes, back on the team a little later than I would have liked.
Great to have you back.
Happy to be back.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's still kind of the core team from 4 years ago with maybe one or two changes.
Drew, that says something.
Yeah.
If you think about it, that says something.
Yeah, it is good.
You know, you have a couple people for one reason or another that might have to step away for a year.
Yep.
But the fact that they, you know, I think everybody on the committee really cares about the cause.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be in the Zoom meetings and in the meetings and trying really hard to get golfers and sponsors. If they didn't care about the cause or friends with you or both, it's, you know, they're not there every time because it is a lot of time and energy.
It is. I'm a very passionate guy. And when I volunteer at Joe DiMaggio, I won't even let them buy me a hotel room. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, we bought a bunch in bulk. I'm like, did you pay for it? Yeah. Well, never mind. I'll go back to Delray Beach.
Yeah.
And same with dog rescue. I have never charged a charity a penny in my life because I'm not doing it for money.
Yeah.
I've never paid myself for My Family Matters. We have no paid employees. Everybody's volunteers.
Well, that's awesome because then you can say, and it's true, 100% of this money goes to parents helping their kids through some tough challenges with cancer and the financial burden that goes along with that. Well, right? I mean, that you can say like obviously after expenses, right?
I was just going to say, I mean,
you have to pay.
Plantation Preserve is where we're doing it, and they, you know, we have to pay for the golfers and food, and you know the corkage fees, which I never even knew existed until I started doing this.
Right, but expenses they don't count against you, right? I mean, and then they told us, and I remember, I think you said Conine told you the first year we did it, if we break even, we hit a home run.
Yeah, Jeff Conine's a friend. He also does a lot of phenomenal things for Joe DiMaggio. And Jeff had told me one time, he said, listen, you know, your first tournament, because he's had one now for over 30 years. He always does his on Martin Luther King's Day, on that Monday. And he said to me, listen, if you break even, that's a win. And I've had some big time golfer type of people that I've met over the last 4 years.
All kind of say
and they've all said the same thing to me. One guy, super successful on the west coast of Florida, does tournaments from Sarasota down in Naples. And he said, my first golf tournament, I lost $1,000.
Okay. And which is not bad.
And he goes, but now, he goes, I'm always in the black. And our first golf tournament that we did, for a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing pretty much, we made a profit. I want to say it was over $24,000.
I think 26 or 27,000 or something in that ballpark is what I remember.
And that $24,000 profit, I had to set aside about $6,000-7,000 for a future event because I had to pay deposits and things like that. And I was able to give Joe DiMaggio $17,500 of that money. And you know what? They made the mistake of telling me, well, the max we can give a family at Joe D is $3,500 because there's so many parents out there that need financial assistance because of the reasons I spoke about before, you know, missing time at work, unfortunately, some cases getting fired. And so they told me that. So in my warped, organized, over-the-top mind, I'm like, I never want to give a family less than $3,500.
Yeah.
So every time I donate, it's in $3,500 increments. Hence the $17,500.
Nice.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking that's the maximum for 5 families. But if the family doesn't need that much, maybe they need only $1,500, then take that out $2,000 and give it to the 6th family or the 7th family or 8th family. And they were blown away that I walked in there. It was funny because I come in there with this little tiny check and they come out with the big card check and they were out there writing on it and everything. And we had to There's photos online. Me holding this big $17,500 check. But that was from the first tournament.
And I can tell you from now being involved with 40 more of these tournaments since that first one that I did with you, which was really my first one on a committee.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and because I told you, the 100-hole challenge, all I had to do was go get golfers. No, go get golfers and tell them we're raising money for, and it happened to be for the first tee of Broward at the time.
Yeah.
We're raising money for first tee.
That's right.
If you play, we give you a link, you send it out to everybody, you tell them I'm doing a crazy thing. So I had like a blueprint for that, right? And I didn't have to get the courses. First tee did that. I didn't have to do anything but get people. So I was good at getting people. That was why Casey introduced us.
Right.
But like I said, now that I've been involved in 40 more of these things, because it's part of our business at Winners Award Group, right? We outfit everything for a golf tournament as a key piece of our business. So
this is a phenomenal place, by the way.
Thank you. And I've been on I've been on a handful of committees a year at least, and I have golf tournament planners that come in, plan all their tournaments for the year in swag and apparel and signs, and then I see them at the tournaments, and then they come back next year.
Yeah.
But one thing that we did really well was you and the rest of the committee got us some phenomenal sponsors, and that'll guarantee you a profit, right? Because if you can pay for the golf and the food with money that gets donated by sponsors, you're ahead of the game.
Very true.
You're not looking at break even anymore.
Yeah, very true.
The other thing was I never seen an auction other than maybe Nick's camp, because they separate theirs into the auction Sunday, and then the golf tournament is on Monday.
Okay.
Other than them, I've never seen as many really cool auction items. You had a guy painting art there.
Joe will be there on
Joe was there. You had Brian Spector was on the committee.
Yes.
And he brought in a ton of sports memorabilia.
Right.
You got a lot of sports memorabilia. You got some really cool rock and roll stuff. I think, we found like a Muhammad Ali plaque from Brian.
Autographed.
Yeah, we had a bunch of really, and so the auction made, I would say, 12 to 15 times more than a normal auction at a charity.
We definitely made at least 10 to 12.
Right, and I'm saying usually
in the auction items.
Yeah, usually an auction will make $2 or $3 or $4 grand. The long drive person or the closest to the pin person will bring your Canon guy Ziggy there. He brings in money. So we had a lot of really amazing things that a first year tournament has trouble getting.
I again back to the power of the microphone. And the great thing, it's funny you bring up the sponsors because they come back every year.
Yeah.
Like literally call me.
Yeah.
John at DEK Roofing last year didn't play because he had a family commitment, but donated $5,000. Called me up in December when everybody's watching their money because of Christmas and said, I'm going to play this year and I want to give you $10,000.
Nice.
So right off the bat, I hadn't even started talking about the golf tournament on the radio yet. And I already landed a $10,000 sponsor from one of the nicest people you would ever meet.
Right. And even if he's taking 2 foursomes, you're still $9,000 in the black.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, maybe a little bit less, but whatever the numbers shake out to, that first $8,600 of expenses is now already like you don't need to, when you write the deposit for the golf course, you're not taking money out of your account.
Yeah, and the which was really that helped me to kind of like calm down a little bit because I'm a pretty hyper guy, and I just like okay. This is a good sign. Like, I didn't even call them. And then all of a sudden, Metro Ford did that. And Mercedes-Benz of Fort Lauderdale is sponsoring our Greg Norman collection in golf shirts this year.
Nice.
And that's one thing, before we started the podcast here today, that was one of the things that I was talking about with some of the people you work with here, is that I pride myself on the goodie bag. I'd rather spend more money. Yes, we make less for the foundation, but I'd rather your experience I'd rather spend more money on items that you can use in everyday life.
Like, are you gonna reveal?
Yes.
Oh,
well,
he's gonna reveal.
This is the alleged goodie bag this year. This is a 19-piece cooler. 19 bottles of water, 19 cans of whatever beverage you want to put in there. The logo is embroidered on the cooler, and in this cooler, winners will be doing our nylon bags where we'll put like all the cookies and protein bars and we have all kinds of golf merchandise that we're putting in the bags. But yeah, right here,
it's a beautiful bag. It's a good bag. You're going to use it. I like the fact that you went to something that people will take to the beach or camping or out on the deck smoking a cigar with their buddies or golf or that's not really a golf bag.
I can't take credit for that. Alex, our golf chair, and Lori, they both have kids. Go to the park, go to park concerts, go to the beach.
Yep.
And they swear by this type of bag, and they say, you buy that at Bed Bath and Beyond, you're going to pay anywhere from $60 to $90 for something like that, depending on the quality. So when they said if you got those for the goodie bags, the golfers are going to lose their mind.
And I wouldn't even call it a goodie bag; I'd call it a signature gift. Because that's a signature gift, right? People are going to talk about that gift. They're going to use it. If they have too many cooler bags, they're going to give it to a family member or a buddy or a girlfriend and say, hey, look, you know what? Take this bag. And then you got your celebrity broadcasters golf tournament logo everywhere that they take that bag.
Tell me if you're not walking through an airport or something like with a bag like that.
Look.
And people look down at that, and they're going to probably ask you, are you a radio broadcaster? I see your bag there. Because last year we did duffel bags that you could take to the gym 12 months a year. And I had my duffel bag at an airport. And I'm standing there waiting to board a plane, and a guy come up to me, and he said, I was looking at your bag. Are you on the radio? And I'm like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I am.
A couple times a week, like 5 days a week, plus syndication, whatever. I'm
in
on
some
the radio
cities, it's 7 days a week, like Pittsburgh and Seattle and places like that.
They just can't get enough of you in the steel
I call it the
town,
DOC Reno Marathon. So here's another item that we have for the broadcasters tournament. I'll tell you this real quick. I've never understood the logic of taking a water bottle and pouring it into a plastic bottle that's got somebody's logo on it, and then going from one plastic bottle to another plastic bottle. I'm a big fan of canned water now. It doesn't taste as bad as you think. But I said, let's get tumblers because they can use this in everyday life. And one of the managers at iHeartRadio Miami comes into work every day with this red guy. And I love the fact that he shows up every day with his coffee in that tumbler. And it's months after the tournament. And he didn't even play in the tournament. I gave him an extra one. And the fact that he uses it every day, that is the point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what we do with the golf tournament items. We want you to play, have a great time. Yes, we're going to have a rock and roll guy here and a comedian over there, bunch of radio guys, Paul Castronovo and I riding around on a cart, harassing all the golfers. You're going to get all that. But we also want you to know, okay, you donated this money. Some of it is going to go help families unfortunately, with kids with cancer. But you're also going to get a really nice goodie bag package that you can use.
And I'll add to that, it's a really fun day. I mean, I had a blast the first 2 years. I can't wait to go in a week and a half.
It's a rock and roll party.
And that's what you said to us, and I was kind of skeptical when you told me that.
I said, this is not a golf tournament.
When you told me that at the beginning, you were like, oh, yeah, we're going to make this like a big rock and roll party with a golf tournament. And I was like, it's a cool idea because it's different, but I was a little skeptical. And I think I pushed back, and you were like, no, that's what we're doing.
Radio guys know how to party.
And it was. I mean, it was great.
So let me tell you this real quick, and then I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah,
so this year's tournament, just so you know, this is breaking news here. We're doing a March Madness theme.
I love it. I went to Indiana, so it's a college basketball town. You know that already.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of a March. I didn't even know that. Now I'm really excited. Go ahead.
So the Sweet 16 ends on the 27th and 28th of March. The tournament's on the morning of the 29th. So the 8 teams that come out of the Sweet 16 will play that weekend, that Saturday and Sunday, and then you'll get to the Final Four. But I just thought, wouldn't it be a great idea, since this is the second year in a row we did it the last Saturday in March. And last year it was Easter, so we had an Easter theme. And I said, why don't we do a March Madness theme? And I hired a professional decorator. We're going to deck the room out with all kinds of basketball type of balloons. Yes, at a golf tournament. But I said, well, we'll have all the volunteers in the morning when the golfers show up wearing, as I call them, the colors, wearing the My Family Matters shirts and Nike dry fits and hats and all that. But when they come back, I want all the volunteers to wear a shirt of their favorite college. So all the volunteers are all going to be wearing like whatever school, Indiana.
Are you going to be wearing an Ohio State shirt?
You know what? I think I'll be the only one still wearing the My Family Matters shirt, because one of my phenomenal, Heather Nelson, one of my phenomenal volunteers is a Buckeye. So I think she's going to represent Ohio State.
I mean, you could throw on an OSU hat or
I might wear a Buckeye hat. I could do that.
Shirt. That
and
way,
wear the My Family Matters
that
shirt.
That way you're still participating in your theme, you know?
Yes. And the funny thing is, and it's
don't tell me you don't have an Ohio State hat. I'm not going to believe you.
I have plenty.
I know you do.
I'm a huge Buckeye. Born and raised in Cleveland. My wife is born and raised in Detroit, and she's a huge Michigan fan. She went to Western. But her brother went, my brother-in-law, Johnny, great guy, he went to Michigan. And so in my family, there's a lot of Michigan, Ohio State dynamics going on. So yes, Aaron will be wearing Michigan, to my chagrin. And I will put on.
We all got Big Ten representation, though, so we're.
You know what? Yeah, and then down here, you think about it.
You'll see a lot of Gators. You'll see a lot of FSU.
Yeah,
you'll see a lot of Hurricanes.
I just had this conversation with her yesterday. We were out going out on a morning walk, and she was talking Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. I'm like, Aaron, we live in Delray Beach, Florida. It's the U. It is Florida State, and it's Florida, and not in UCF any particular order.
And UCF I'd put up there now. There's a lot of people from UCF.
And I said, we got to have Florida schools. So,
that's cool.
And then we have to go to the SEC. We were talking about decorations, like possible balloon decorations. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so let's see who gets in the tournament. And then we'll pick and choose some schools that we'll feature.
My school's on the bubble. We haven't been good at basketball in like 20 years, so I don't want to talk about that. But no, I used to go to Vegas with a bunch of college buddies until we all had a bunch of kids. We were there for March Madness tournament. It was less and less guys every year, and then it kind of fizzled out. But I could sit in the Bellagio Sportsbook and watch college basketball all day. I don't even have to bet. I don't care.
Wow.
I would just sit there and watch college. I love the
tournament. Now you can do it down to Hard Rock.
Love the tournament.
Tournament. It's a really special time of year. I'm a big baseball fan. It's my favorite time of my favorite sport, and this is my favorite month of the year because of March Madness. And I love spring training. I made sure that when I moved to Florida 23 years ago to work at Big, that I went to every single spring training facility in the state of Florida. I've been to every one of them. The Dodgers, when they left Vero, I was at that last game, second row behind home plate, and I missed that place.
Wow.
Vin Scully was doing play-by-play, and if you're sitting in those kind of seats, you can hear him, because they don't have plexiglass on the broadcaster booth. So I'm just curious. So you've been doing the podcast now for a couple of years. One year you actually did it from the broadcasters.
We did. We had Amelia on there. as a guest. You were running around with Paul, but we had Amelia on there the second year. We had Dr. McCrae come down from Indianapolis. He's been a client of mine for years, and he came on the podcast, and we had a few other great guests. I had a blast.
It was a fun tournament. How can you go wrong? We did it it was the only time we did it on a Friday, and it was Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
So that was on purpose, and we moved it to afternoons because I wanted a happy hour, that happy hour atmosphere when everybody got back.
Yep.
And we had a mariachi man.
And it was.
I hired a mariachi man.
And it was fun. It was over the top. It was loud. It was entertaining. People got wasted.
Big time.
People got wasted. Gosh. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And a lot of these charity golf tournaments, I think I played in it with Sean Kicker the second year. And we crushed it. I think I hit 4 best balls the whole day because I played with 3 pros.
Yeah.
Now, we got second place, but that's another story for how people cheat at charity tournaments, and that's
mulligans and all that. Yeah.
People have good erasers, and that's who wins the prizes, right? Like they have those sharpest.
Score is not the score.
The sharpest pencil. But no, you do a great job with it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the committee. It's a fun day. But what'd you want to ask me though?
No, I was wondering, so when we first met, they did an article on you in the Sun Sentinel where you play like 18 hours straight.
We play like 11. It's about 11-hour day to play.
I was going to say, are you still doing that?
So so my partner at the On Par podcast left the First Tee, and he's now running golf programs for the county of Dade County.
Okay.
So he runs all the youth programs for kids in Dade County that have to do with golf.
Okay.
He's like the kid whisperer. He's the best teacher of golf. Kids just gravitate towards him and want to listen to him. He's like got a gift. So now that he's not with First Tee anymore, I actually started in January the On Par Foundation.
Really?
And what we're going to do for the 100-hole challenge this year is we're going to let golfers pick a charity that they want to represent, and we're going to have charity versus charity fundraiser. So Lou and Nick, who you just met from Nick's camp, will come. They'll participate. They'll send their link, and 85 or 90% or whatever goes to Nick's. You could grab a couple of golfers that say, hey, we want to raise money for My Family Matters Foundation. And then you can support them by sharing their links, and 80 or 90% or whatever it is will go to My Family Matters. Children's Harbor for foster kids is another nonprofit. Eric, know, and Ed Colo from Man Up and his team. So we could have, maybe
what a great idea.
Maybe if we have 18 golfers at each thing, we could have 2 golfers represent each charity at each venue. And that's gonna
what day is this on?
I don't have the dates or the courses yet. We're gonna get it on a Monday most likely.
Okay.
Because a private course will either donate the space for the day or charge us a lot less than we should pay.
I will tell you this much: I can't speak high enough for the people at Plantation Preserve.
No, and I mean,
I can make an introduction.
No, I mean, I'm happy. No idea is a bad idea because I'd like to have 2 or 3 courses so people have dates and options.
Okay.
And I think the other thing that stopped people from participating is they weren't as enthusiastic about First Tee as the charity because they had close ties to a different charity. So like they would say, oh, you know what? I'd really like to do this and I think it's a cool thing, but can I raise money for kids or for education or, Children's Harbor or wherever.
Yeah.
And now, you get a couple of board members from each place. They're all well-connected people. They're most likely business owners or C-level executives.
And they make their own phone calls.
They make their own phone calls.
They get donations.
And we make it easy. I mean, we use a platform. We give you a link. We give you the script. We give you what to put on your social media. We give you
awesome.
What to text.
I had no idea.
No, and that was
great.
The other reason I was glad that we were kind of working together again because I know you got somebody that will play golf for your charity and do this maniac 100 holes in one day thing with us.
I'll have to work on that.
And the other reason that I started the foundation is because I work in swag. And
Yeah.
I noticed that, and you were kind of the first person that I noticed it on, because you were the first charity I worked really closely with on a golf tournament. Leftover items.
Yeah.
You got 60 leftover golf shirts. You got 100 hats because you
And I do.
have too many. You got these tumblers.
Yeah.
So I pitched this idea to the Man Up committee, and they put 6 products that they had surplus of on our Shopify site.
Okay.
And again, 80 or 90% of the money, I haven't figured out all the numbers yet, but the lion's share of whatever is sold through that platform, and each page will have its own, My Family Matters page, the Man Up page, the Knicks Camp page. And then you got these leftover awesome cooler bags that people are spending $75 for, but you send them out to all of your supporters and all of your social media. Obviously, you have a following on Facebook specifically. I've looked at all your stuff, Instagram, etc. Hey, look, you know what? We've got a bunch of really awesome swag for sale. Here's the link.
I can do that.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, I can totally do that.
So that was my other, and those were kind of the first 2 things that I said, okay, we can raise some real money, because we raised 133 grand one year for the 100-hole challenge.
That's amazing.
And that was with everybody raising money for the same exact charity.
Yeah.
So I think I think 3 years, 4 years from now, the goal is going to be like $1 million from this event.
Let me tell you this. Speaking of like having extra shirts, okay. With the broadcasters tournament, we consider 100 players, which we've hit every year. Even on that Friday afternoon, 105.
Mm-hmm.
100 players is the goal.
Okay.
120 is a sellout.
Okay.
The first year we had 127 because remember the Dolphins called me.
Hard Rock called you. Like
the Seminole Tribe called me the day of the tournament.
The night before or something like that.
And then the producers at Shark Tank had a couple. Chauncey wanted to play, and Monica, and we got them in. And they, to their credit, I was going to comp them because it was like less than 24 hours out. And they all said, no, we want to pay. We want to donate to the foundation. Well, the Greg Norman collection, I deal with Jessica up in New York. We ordered the shirts 2 years ago, and she sent me 165 shirts. So I had 165 shirts. I mean, the max you can have is 144. So right away, I already have 21 extra shirts. No, so for this type of cause you're talking about, trust me, we could go over to the storage shed. I could clean house.
No, and that your storage shed and Ed's garage were what inspired this idea. Because, and then Girl Power Rocks, which is another tournament we did down in Miami Beach. They mentor young girls, and they're trying to build housing for foster kids.
That's awesome.
And they said the same thing. They ordered these really awesome solar battery packs, and they had like a dozen left over, not even as extreme. And I was like, well, give me the dozen battery packs. We'll put them on the site, and then we'll share the link and see what happens.
After the podcast. We'll definitely talk.
Yeah, but that's what's going on with me. I mean, it's,
that's awesome.
a couple career changes since I met you.
Yeah.
But I landed where I belong, and
this is an incredible place.
Well, and now I get the opportunity to give back, right? I'm on your golf committee. I'm on 7 other golf committees. I'm on Lou and Nick's board now. That's the first board seat I've ever sat on, an official board position. I've been an ambassador.
And I was going to say, and Nick's is amazing. Been around for over 30 years.
Yeah, and I mean, Nick's, and that was the other cool thing. I was like, you got to meet Lou and Nick from the Chiera Foundation for Nick's Camp, because now, after you help these kids with direct funds to their parents to help them with their money,
right? Let's
say they need a scholarship. Nick's scholarships.
Yeah.
Let's say they want to learn how to ice skate for free. Nick's ice skating. Nick's camp. Nick's golf. They have all these other things that you didn't even know existed until they were able to tell you about it.
Right.
And and Lou said it best. I can't say it better. He's been doing it 31 years. He knows a few things, but he said, hey, it's all about charities helping other charities, right? You get donations from foundations. You get referrals from here. You give referrals to there. And I tie that back to golf, because I met all of you people through golf. Even though you don't play golf, I met you through golf.
I lived at the Carolina Golf Club in Margate for 16 years. I would walk my dogs and find golf balls. Then I literally would go to the driving range because I could just walk to it from my front door on Rock Island Road. And I would have literally my belt tightened about as tight as you can get because I had about 100 golf balls in my cargo pant pockets.
Oh, damn.
And then I would just empty them out on the ground and I would hit the driving range. So that was the extent of my golf. But returning the balls back to Carolina Golf Club, which unfortunately is no longer around. It's really sad.
Right.
No, I love the idea with that. And I think that, with the broadcasters and we do have a lot of extra merchandise. That would be any way we can give some money to the families and even like when I'm not doing a golf tournament, I do a music and food festival. We just had our Italian Fest back on March 8th, Saturday, March 8th. That weekend's National Meatball Day weekend. So we did the Italian Festival in Margate. It's free to get in, free to park. You pay for your food and drink. But we raise money for My Family Matters Foundation. And I always invite at least one or two other nonprofits. Usually, I'm a big dog rescue guy. If you listen to me on Big 105.9, you know that. You know about Doc's Dogs of the Week and all that with the Humane Society. And now I have a Saturday morning show that's been on for about 9 months. It's getting unbelievable reviews. It's called Pets Rock. And I do it with Stephen Chamberlain. He works on Manny Munoz's show on IOD. And Stephen and I are big. We basically tell people we're not experts. We're dog guys who like sports, rock and roll, beer, and dogs. And we do this 1 hour show. It's a weekly show. It's pretty much a glorified podcast because it's actually 1 hour live on the radio. And we talk about pet rescue and adoption and fostering. And so when I have my events, I always have a rescue there. And at the broadcasters on March 29th, if you go to myfamilymattersfoundation.org, you can sign up for the tournament. We always sell out, and it's always last minute, but we still have at least 5 or 6 foursomes open right now.
But that's a South Florida thing, though, right? I mean, every tournament, 2 weeks before, they're like, oh, crap, we have 60 golfers. And then the day of, they're like, oh, good, we got 96. Yeah. We got 108. We got 112, whatever the number winds up.
Pretty much. Being. Well, one of our sponsors this year.
So don't wait.
Yeah, don't wait around, please. It makes me nervous.
My job the first year was to calm Doc down when he panicked because we didn't have enough golfers.
And we ended up with 127.
That was part of my job on the committee.
Well, you remember that that was at Jacaranda 2 days before. We were having a committee meeting there.
We were.
And we got a call from Natalie, and she said, the tournament sold out. We hit 120 because that was the line.
Right.
And then we ended up with 7 people calling me last minute wanting in. Yeah. And I just snuck them in.
And if you don't know or you haven't played in a lot of charity tournaments, 120 is a magic number because once you go over that, you run the risk of running your event into the 5 hours plus. Yeah. And golfers don't like that.
And we found that out last year because I had 133 golfers last year. And I was thinking everybody would get back to Plantation Preserve at like noon, 12:30 at the latest. And they were rolling in at 1 p.m.
1 o'clock, 1:15.
So so that 120, you're right. It's a magic number. But at this year's tournament, Rescue Paws Florida Rescue Group, run by 2 radio executives, they're going to have a hole. They bought a hole, a foursome in the tournament. And they're going to have a couple of rescue dogs out at the golf course.
Those dogs are going home with somebody that day.
And I'm like, man, we got to get these dogs adopted.
Oh my goodness, that's pretty
how
cool.
Cool would that be? Cool. You're there playing golf, and you're not there to adopt a dog, but you see this dog, and you're like, oh my god, what a great looking dog.
That's pretty cool.
So we're actually going to have a rescue group on the course. We have the usual Hooters, Buffalo Wild Wings, JT Sports Bar and Grill, all going to be on the course giving out food.
Oh yeah, come hungry. I forgot to mention that because there's more food at this tournament than 90%.
I was going to say, Peter at Hooters in Weston, he said it to me before. He said, people come back in the lunch in the banquet room and nobody's hungry because you gave them so much food in the goodie bags and on the course. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have too much food than not enough. I'd rather have too much alcohol than not enough. That's the Italian in you. You always want too much food. My mom would send you home on Thanksgiving, not with a plate of food, but 4 plates of food. That's the mentality.
Bring your own glassware or Tupperware, and you're taking food home with you.
Pretty much.
We do the same.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
man.
Well, this has been awesome.
No, come on, Doc. My pleasure, man. It only took me 4 years to get you on the podcast. I finally struck it. So, Doc, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming down.
No, I'm honored, man.
Down
Congrats on all the success with On Par.
Listen, man, we're trying to, help as many people and charities as we can. On Par started as a we're going to talk about golf and business and networking, and then I met Lou actually at an event a month after I started it, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this tournament for Nick's camp," and I said, "Hey, why don't we do a live one?" That was the first live one we did.
Okay.
And that was how we started more in
and
the
it's
charity.
Off and running.
Yeah,
good for you.
Well, now with the 100-hole challenge, it also gives us a platform to talk about that and help our. That's how I started the podcast in the first place. I interviewed a bunch of people for the 100-hole challenge, and Sean's like, "You're great. We should do this. Like, let's have a podcast." And here we are, 108 episodes later, or whatever the number.
That many? Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's been over 2 years now.
That's phenomenal.
So thank
Congratulations.
you. And I did get a little advice from Doc about what software to use, and he told me something really important, which I haven't even really done that much. But it's better to have people saying bad things about you or good things about you. You just don't want people not talking about you at all.
Right.
So I probably got to get more controversial.
Yeah, in the radio business, they do focus groups, and they basically. One of my jokes is I'd rather be hated than have people be indifferent. So either they love you or they hate you. At least they have an opinion.
Well, you think about
when they're indifferent, that's the worst thing. If you ever want to get on anybody's nerves, be indifferent to them, because when they think like they're getting under your skin and you show them going. You're not, they're not rather. That's one of the biggest, even in life, I'd rather you say, you know what, Cancer Foundation, that kind of bums me out, not really interested. Fine, at least you told me. Then I guess I'll volunteer. No, I don't want, I guess. You either want to be part of it or you don't. Because if you don't, that's fine.
So if you want to be a part of it, go to the website, myfamilymattersfoundation.org, sign up for the golf tournament. It might be a little late to sponsor, but you might be able to.
Oh, I'll take your sponsorship money.
Bring the money. Bring the money. And then, we'll see you on March 29th. And then there's 6 other events that Doc's got that we'll send you the links of those as well.
Yeah, Wings Fest is Father's Day weekend, June 14th, our 8th one. It's my Godzilla. It's the biggest buffalo chicken wings festival in South Florida.
And here we go. So we'll see you at the charity tournament for the celebrity broadcasters. Thanks for listening to On Par, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Doc.